All right, this might be a bit of a dumb question, but stick with me for a moment. Have you ever noticed that there's a few people on your team who just operate on a different level? You can trust them with things that you wouldn't trust most people. You don't have to follow up with them and babysit to make sure it's getting done. And you don't have to wonder whether something's getting handled. It just does. When something important needs to happen, it's probably their name and their face that's coming to your mind almost immediately. Right now, you're probably thinking, yeah, of course I've noticed that. That's what makes us successful. And yeah, James, that's a bit of a dumb question. But there's something I want to point out for you today, so stick with me. That person that just came to mind, well, I'm guessing that you hired them because you saw something unique or special in them. Maybe you saw a little bit of yourself in them. That ability to identify that has probably served you really well over the years, at least mostly. I'm guessing you've been fooled once or twice. We all have. But when you make a great hire, it's pretty obvious that they have this secret sauce. You can see it in how they reason things out. You see it in how they have this high sense of responsibility. You see it in how they handle things without needing constant direction. And that leads me to what I want to talk with you about today. There's one attribute that you care about probably more than almost any other, and it's... Hey, I'm James, and you're listening to the Leadership in 5 podcast. Now, that one quality, that one attribute that I just teased you with, well, it looks like this. It's when that high performer takes on a new responsibility. So their first move, it isn't to go to their manager with a bunch of questions. They actually start to take it apart and think things through on their own first. They ask themselves the kind of questions that a lot of others on the team might walk down the hall to ask another person. And if and when they actually do come to you, they've worked through most of it already. And the conversation then, it starts to sound different. They say something like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's a couple of ways I think are the good ways or the best ways to approach it. Here's what I recommend. Now, you've probably seen the opposite happen too. A different person comes to your office. Hey, boss, do you have a second for a quick question? But within 5 seconds, you realize that they didn't even try to solve it on their own. They clearly didn't think it through. They didn't consider consequences. They just basically brought a problem to you and dropped it in your lap. In other words, they haven't taken ownership of it yet. And moments like that are so frustrating for people like you because you know there's others on your team that would have approached that situation entirely different. And knowing that difference is incredibly valuable to your growing business. It means you're not the only person in the company that's thinking about the consequences. You have people inside the organization who carry that same sense of responsibility with you. And like I said a moment ago, there's a strong chance that you're picturing that person in your mind right now who embodies that. They see the bigger picture and they're willing to take ownership without needing to be asked or told. Now that brings us all the way back to this word that I've been teasing and haven't yet named. That word is conscientious. You don't hear that word used very often in business conversations, but in my opinion, it should be because conscientious people bring something into an organization that's incredibly valuable. They are your high performers. And along with being high performers, they're people of high character and morals. They care about preserving things like dignity with others. They care about doing things consistently well. And don't miss this. When that level of competence and character show up in the same person, man, that's a powerful combination. Now, some people have called that kind of person a smart creative. And what they're trying to describe is that a smart creative doesn't drive a mile deep into a 1-inch diameter hole. Instead, they look across the systems and the landscape, and they understand how a decision made here creates consequences somewhere else, and they are thinking like someone who truly owns the outcome. Now, it's fair to say that people like that are kind of rare. You might have one, maybe you even have a few, but organizations that grow almost always have a handful of people like that that's kind of holding things together. They influence the culture of the company in a really positive way, even though they might not ever have a formal leadership role. And founders like you know exactly who those people are. And this is why I wanted to call it out with you today. When you experience a conscientious high performer in your company, you'll start recruiting differently. You'll teach how to recruit for that. You start interviewing differently. And because you're no longer just looking for expertise, you've determined that you're looking for conscientiousness. And when people see it clearly, they realize how rare it really is, but also how valuable it is when you do find it. And knowing that is how you leave it better for your team, for your company, and your customers.